Hi there, Janet Fritz here for Galaxy Girl Creations. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to 31 Days of Cut Files. Today is day 2 with one of the cut files that I created for this project, and I'm super happy with this one. It is a French press, and I know a lot of people do coffee pots and stuff like that. I just wanted to do something a little bit different, so I'm hoping that you guys found this one a little bit fun to work with. I certainly enjoyed it. I had kind of lost my mojo because I hadn't done any scrapbooking for about a week. I was out of town, and I just took quite a while to figure this one out, but I'm super happy with the way it came out. So I started out with some brown cardstock, and it is just plain cardstock. I don't have a lot of it, as you can tell there. It's just from my scrap bin. I don't even know what I used the other piece for, but I darkened it up with some ground espresso distress oxide because ground espresso sounds like coffee to me, so I figured that was a good choice. And I also wanted to start with the brown paper because I didn't want to have to go over it as much as if I would have had to use white paper. So I am just backing the coffee that's pouring with that as well. And I'm just using a little bit of liquid glue and adhering that down. And then I'm going to let it dry a little bit, and then I will just trim off the excess. Normally I would probably trace it and and then cut a little larger or a little bit smaller depending on if I trace the outside of the line or the inside. But I don't know, I just did not feel like going through all of that process, so I figured I would just go ahead and back it with a little glue and go from there. And then I have some silver mirror paper from Tonic Studios, and I've had this for a while, and so I just used that to back the rest of the coffee pot, going with a silver themed French press. Now, we actually have used a French press for many years at our house, and ours is not silver, it is green. We have a green one and a black one actually. And then we recently just switched to a Keurig just for the expediency of it going to work in the morning. I don't have to wait quite as long. But the French press is our backup, and we do really love it. So I thought that was kind of cool. This mirror paper, it likes to show every little bit of glue that might pop out, and so I'm just rubbing it with a dry rag there so that it picks it up and doesn't leave any residue, because otherwise you can really see it on the mirror paper. And then I'm just doing the top, the bottom, and the handle. Now I'm gonna do something a little different with the cup. I'm going to actually get rid of those stars. I did design it with the stars, but I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to replace it with some flowers. And I totally like the way that it looks. I took this wood grain paper and I'm cutting the planks apart right where they are the darkest. And I was going to put them on some white paper, but I ended up using black paper because the grooves where the planks are in the paper are really dark. And so that's why I switched to dark paper. You'll see me lining it up here on some white, and it shows the white through because I've roughed up all the edges, but I'm gonna swap that out right now. And then I did use my Edge Distress tool from MK's shop, Some Assemblage Required. I think she's out of stock right now, but if you go and put your name on the list to be notified when it's back in stock, you'll get that notification, and you can order one if that's something that you're interested in. So I went ahead and used a little liquid glue to adhere all of my planks down, and I didn't do a really thorough job. I just kind of tacked them down with that, and then I ran them through my sewing machine with some dark green thread. Probably could have used a lighter green, it would have showed more, but I really like the subtlety of it. And then I'm using a dark green, a really old dark green paper. No, that's not old. Sorry, I think it's from I think it is a Paige Evans, like Bungalow Lane, or maybe Splendid actually. And so I'm going to use that green paper to be the outside of everything. It's going to be the framework, and then it's going to have that white paper and then this planked paper. And I like the way that this is looking. I am going through and ruffling up all of the edges of the planks, and I really like how that looks. I think it looks kind of cool, and gives a lot of texture to the layout. I will warn you, if you do this technique, it is kind of a big pain to adhere all of your pieces on top, because these ruffled up edges create a void in the areas where they're not ruffled up, and then you have to like tuck some foam tape behind each one of those little areas, because otherwise there's no support for or anywhere to glue your page onto, or your pictures and your ephemera onto, because there's voids between those roughed up areas. Hopefully that made sense. So I did gut that green paper, and now I am going to go ahead and rough up the edges of that, and I'm going to put my photo on the top of that. My photo is a Starbucks cup of vanilla latte, and I took this picture just a few weeks ago in front of this bush at the Starbucks. So it's got a lot of green in the background and some white flowers, and that's why I decided to go with flowers instead of the stars. Even though it is Starbucks. Interesting. That just occurred to me. And then I'm not going to do any journaling really on here, because the journaling is actually on the cup. It is my order. And I almost always order the same thing. If I'm ordering iced, it's always an iced vanilla latte with light ice and whole milk. And if it is a hot one, I order the exact same thing hot. I don't know. It's been my order for a couple of years now, and I really just like it, and it's kind of simple. And I used to order mocha, but I found the mocha was really too sweet for me, so this kind of makes me happy. So no need to put any journaling on there. It's just going to be my order, and I'm going to go with it. I'm using this piece of green vellum, and this is from Amy Tangerine. It's from one of her old collections. I think it's actually even out of a paper pad. And so I am going to back my cup with that green. I did tuck in some of these flowers, and I think these are actually from the Splendid collection as well. They are just in that media case because I had multiple packs of them, and rather than having them floating around in multiple packs, I just tucked them all together in that media case so that they would be easy to grab. And then I am going to back the vellum with white because I want it to be more vibrant than if the wood grain was showing behind it. It was really easy to just trim out those stars. So if you're not somebody who wants stars on your cup, you want to put something else. I didn't even have to put the flowers in the same corners because you just snip the stars off and it's totally fine. But you could, put any kind of pattern you want on there, or don't put anything on it. Just use patterned paper. But I really liked it because I wanted to bring in these florals to my other embellishment areas. So I'm going to go with this visual triangle here, and I'm going to tuck in some teal and some orange, and these teal ones have some green in the middle, which brings in more green from down below, and I'm just liking the way that it looks. I am using this acrylic word from MK's shop. It is from the Motherhood Quotes, Motherhood Words. I don't know. It's called Motherhood, but it says, there's one that says caffeine, one that says messy buns, one that says leggings, one that says motherhood, and I think there's another one. I can't remember what it says, but I thought this worked so well. It is a dark brown. I am also going to use her coffee sprinkles. And there's coffee beans, hearts, some little brown banner pieces. I'm not going to use the banner pieces. I am going to use some hearts and some coffee beans. And I really like, and there's actually coffee cups and a coffee pot. I'm going to use all those little pieces and sprinkle them around. And I like the way that it looks. I am using a shimmer pen from Close to My Heart. It's just the clear shimmer pen. And I am sprinkling or rubbing that all over the coffee so that it has a bit of a sparkle to it. And I like the way that it looks, but it's not quite enough. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to use some Stickles glitter gel in Nebula. And I will show you that on the screen, what it looks like. And then I'm going to just use a paintbrush and tuck it under all of the areas. You can kind of see the pot in the upper right hand corner there, sitting there open. and I haven't applied it yet, but I am going to apply it. Originally, I thought I might use one of the other ones, but the other one had actual star glitter in it, and so I went with Nebula, which is more silver than gold, and that works for me because I ended up with a silver coffee pot instead, so or French press, and so the silver works, and I'm totally happy with the way that it turned out. Now here's where I am taking this foam tape and I am tucking it under the varying items because it's got to go in the void. It can't go up on the ridges, and so it's a little tedious figuring out exactly where they go. And so that is why I am kind of gluing my leaves and flowers together in a weird way. I don't normally work up like from top to bottom this way, where I'm gluing the top layer and then tucking other pieces in. But I'm trying to do it without moving anything around so that they're stuck together enough that I can pick the whole thing up and add some support for them with some foam. The foam is just foam from Walmart, and it is adhesive backed on one side, and you just find it in the kids crafting area, and then the other side I just use my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to adhere it down. And I like the way that it works. It stays. It's really sticky on the adhesive side. It's very hard to peel up, in fact, if you once you put it down. And so, you better know where you're going to put it, and don't press down very hard if you're not sure. So now I'm just taking a few other smaller pieces and putting it behind the handle. My piece that I had cut was too wide. This foam, you're only seeing strips of it because I cut strips of it. It comes in, I believe, a 5x7 sheet, and I cut it down and just use strips. I rarely use a large sheet. So I think that would be a little bit more wasteful, I guess, if you were doing the entire photo, which I have done in the past. But in this case, I just need support here and there. I don't need the entire thing backed. And again, this has those ridges, so it wouldn't work if you actually put it all over the back. But I'm going to be able to pick up this entire embellishment area with the photo and everything and flip it over because I've tacked it with that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, so I can kind of figure out where everything needs to go. And I do have a little piece that I tucked under there, so it's going to allow me to peel that up a little bit. But sometimes on this paper, some of these papers, you cannot peel it. So again, I have not really pushed down on it to make sure it's going to stick forever. So be aware of, again, where you're putting that stuff. So I'm just tucking little bits and pieces under, and then I am going to put a strip down the center there that's a little wider to support the middle of the photograph. And I am kind of just measuring where that's going to go. Again, I'm just going to stick it underneath. Now I'll pick it up and put my liquid glue all over. I probably could have put another piece of foam in the next little bay. I'm going to call it a bay. It's not really a bay. In the next little wood grain area. But if I felt like it had enough, and so I'm not going to worry about it too much. And then I'm just sticking my acrylic blocks right on top to hold them in place while it sets up. Now my acrylic blocks are pretty thick. They're about a 1/2 inch thick, and so they are pretty heavy. So they're going to provide just enough weight to hold everything in place while I wait for it to set up and dry just a bit. Now here's where I'm taking that Nebula Stickles glitter, and I am tucking it under with my paintbrush, and I like the way that it's looking. It's giving it some extra sparkle and a little bit of extra interest, and I am going to decide to put it over the brown portion of the coffee pot to make it kind of shiny and shimmery, and kind of draw your eye there just a little bit more so it doesn't blend in quite so much with the background. And I like the way that it ends up looking. So I'm really curious to see what MK does on her page today. This was one of the first cut files that I made for this project, and so I'm really happy with the way that it came out. I hope you guys really enjoy it as well and get some good use out of it. I can't wait to see what you do with it. I think it's kind of a fun one, And even if you're not a coffee drinker, you can totally document that you don't drink coffee. Maybe like, this is not my thing, I drink tea. Or you can just cut the cup off and use the cup. You don't have to use the whole thing if you're not interested in that. If you're not a coffee drinker, if you don't use a French press, it's totally okay. You can use it without that. And, you know, even if I didn't use a French press, which I currently don't, I currently use a Keurig, but I think this is just a super cute way to do it, and it's a little bit different. So I am just going to make sure that there's plenty of sparkle on this, and I like the way that it's looking. And then I did sparkle up the coffee flow that goes into the cup, so it looks like it's pouring out and a little bit wet and sparkly as well. And I think I really like the way that that turned out. I'm going to add that little blue flower over to my cluster on the left-hand side, and then I'm going to use some glue to glue down the word caffeine right on top of my florals there and my coffee cup. And I really like the way that that ends up looking. I am pulling the backer off of it. Oh, maybe I didn't pull the backer. I might have left the backer on there. Sometimes when it's too narrow to put a bunch of glue dots on, I will just use my liquid glue and leave the backer on so that I know that it sticks really well. The glue just kind of soaks into that paper backer, and then it kind of holds it in place. I have also used it with glued with my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive without a backer, and it seems to work also. Okay, so these are the coffee sprinkles from MK's shop, and I am going to go ahead and sprinkle some of those around. And I know they don't show up really great on top of the brown. In person they show up, no problem. But I know on screen it's a little harder to see them because my wood grain is so dark. But they do provide added texture. These are actually coffee beans. In case you're wondering what the sprinkles are, they are not just ovals, they are little coffee beans. You can see the little line in them that makes them look like a coffee bean. And then I am using the coffee to-go cup up in the upper right, and a diner coffee pot over in the left-hand cluster. And that is pretty much it, you guys. I am gonna go ahead and show you the stickles apparently, and I will put links to all the products down below in case you're interested in checking that out. If you have any questions or comments, you can go ahead and leave those down below, and I will get back to you as quickly as I can. I'm kind of behind on answering those right now, so I'm going to try and get caught up in the next day or two. But I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my channel and spend time with me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another video, so come and check that out. Don't forget to join the 31 Days of Cutfiles Facebook group in case you want, if you're not already involved in that. And you can see all kinds of inspiration, people using all the different cut files throughout the month. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Bye-bye.